Okay, so today is about a new project in Excel where we're going to be getting Excel to do much of the work for us. We do have to enter some data, and let's show you what we're going to be producing here. On the beginning of this Module 2 chapter, we're going to be producing something like this. We have a company called Klapor Engineering, and they want to do a salary report. They have a list of employees. We'll be entering their names. We'll be entering only 2 emails, and we're going to let Flash Fill do the work for us to do the rest of the emails, because that's such hard work to spell those out. We'll be entering dependents and hours worked and hourly pay rate. That's something that Excel doesn't know yet. And we will also be entering the hire date. All these numbers here and down here, Excel is going to be doing the work for us. Doing a calculation, multiple formulas. And the formulas you're entering really are only going to be for one row of the results, and we'll be using the copy handle. So it's going to be Excel doing the work. All we have to do is enter data, tell the formula for one row, and then make sure it's correct before fail handling down to the rest of the rows. And then of course we'll come back and look at that. The formatting here is a lot less complicated than we did on the first one. So formatting here is going to be easy. Putting things in accounting or comma format. Calculating some other formulas. We're going to be learning about how to calculate highest, lowest, average using built-in functions. And maybe we'll do a few more functions. Oh, and there's one more special thing we're going to do as we do the formatting. We're going to be highlighting employees that have worked too hard. We're going to highlight them automatically using a thing called conditional formatting. So let's get started and fill in our table data, and then we'll see how we get Excel to do the work for us. So we're going to start a new Excel spreadsheet. I have Excel pinned to my taskbar. If you don't have it pinned, you can just type Excel. If you want to pin it, you can right-click Pin to Taskbar. That will show up there. Or you can just say, I don't need to pin on the taskbar. I just want to start Excel. Blank workbook. Remember, there are templates in there of lots of fun things to do. Notice there is actually a template to teach you more about formulas. You're welcome to check that formula. And there's lots of other things. You want to know about Power Query or pivot tables, pie charts. There's helpful templates out there, and even some example pretty budgets and things. But we're going to learn how to do that ourselves, so we're going to go blank workbook. And we're going to start by entering our company name and then the data to be entered. So here we go. The name of our company is Klapor Engineering. This is going to become a title and subtitle, Salary Report. And just like what we did before, we're going to be merging and centering it after we fill in our table. This is going to be my table, so I'm going to pull it down a little bit just to give me some space between it and what's going to become the title. And now let's enter the column headings that are going to be the information supplied. This is going to be an employee name in this column, employee. We're going to type their email address. Hit tab, and I'm going to keep track of the number of dependents that they have. And their hours worked. Hours. And now something new to learn. Instead of typing space worked, we would like the word worked to show up on the next line. That is done by hitting or holding the Alt key and hitting Enter. That is a way for you to force a new line in the cell. The thing about that is no matter how wide that cell is, it will always keep it on separate lines. It will force a new line. If I shrink it down, it will start to shrink. But I can hit Alt Enter to make a new line. What's that? Alt Enter, the same 2 keys held down at the same time. Alt and then Enter. Hold the Alt key down while you hit Enter. We'll do it again here on pay rate. Or sorry, yeah, hourly and then pay rate. Hourly, and we want pay rate to be underneath that, so Alt Enter, pay rate.
I think Alt Enter and deleted it.
You have to be editing it. Type hourly, and then Alt Enter, and pay rate. Yeah, just retype it. Hit Tab to go to the next cell, and notice. Oh, I must have hit Alt Enter twice. It forced the new line. Let me fix that. For some reason, it has 2 Alt Enters in there. Let me backspace over the extra Alt Enter I have in there. There. Yes, sir.
Whenever I press Alt Enter, it has done a bunch of different things. It's tried to save the file. It's made a new blank.
Are you hitting Alt or are you hitting the Windows key? Make sure it's the Alt key.
It says to save it.
Let's check to see. Maybe somebody messed with the keyboard. Oh, you're on a PC, so I double click there. So you enter editing. Now Alt Enter. There you go. Yeah, if you're not editing it, I don't know what Alt Enter does if you're not in edit mode. Let's see what happens. If I hit Alt Enter but without typing in the cell, let's see what I get. Alt Enter, and I don't know what it did to me. I think it just put an extra line in there. Okay, hourly pay rate. Now the next one is gross pay. Gross pay. Now suppose I want that to show on 2 lines as well. Watch what I can do. I can go to gross pay, click on gross pay, and I can tell it, you know what, I would like you to wrap the text for me. Now it will wrap it when it's too narrow for it. I like wrapping rather than me having to tell it where to introduce the new line. I like to let Excel decide when to wrap the text. So there you have an example. You can wrap in Excel. You can let Excel do the wrapping. Because this is such a popular thing, if I ever want to go over to, suppose, something like ChatGPT, I can ask ChatGPT to give me a wrap about Excel wrapping. I just said to ChatGPT, compose a wrap about Excel wrapping format. And it writes a wrap for me. Yo, I'm chilling in my sheet with my data, so neat. But the text too long, it can't fit in the beat. Column too tight, man, I gotta act fast, gotta make that text wrap so it's built to last. If you would like to earn some extra credit in this course, you can compose or have AI compose a wrap for you and perform it in a short video. And we could show it on Video Friday just for fun. You could earn extra credit. It can be as goofy as you like it to be. If you want to learn a little extra credit, give us some entertainment about wrapping in Excel. You don't even have to compose it. And it doesn't have to be super long. If that's too long, you can just tell ChatGPT, shorter version, please. And it will recompose a wrap about whatever you're asking it. This may be a fun way to learn some Bible verses or some Bible concepts. Memorizing it, or even, you don't have to do a rap. You could just say, make a poem about this particular thing. It might actually help you remember a particular subject. So AI can be good. It's not going to ruin your life. It is making life tougher for grading because many students are turning in AI as their work. But you can use AI to learn or to help you remember things. Have it compose raps on whatever topic. Impress your teachers. Don't tell them you composed it, though. That would be plagiarism. And I'm not sure what the rules are about anything that's composed with ChatGPT and you modify it a little bit. To me, that sounds like you've done some of the work, so you could claim it as some of your own. So back to here. If I want all this text to wrap in this entire row, I could come here and say wrap text, but that might ruin some things. So I'm only going to wrap it on specific columns. So gross pay, federal tax. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. I'm going to type in it, and then I'll decide what ones I want Excel to wrap on. So I'm going to type in federal tax, state tax, and tax percent, tax with a percent symbol, and net pay. And I think the last one is hire date. Yes, hire date. I can make sure Excel does a wrapping whenever I decide to narrow this column by just selecting through those and say, wrap it for me, please. I won't know it's wrapping until I click on it and, oh, I must have toggled off wrapping. Let's turn wrapping back on. Wrap text, there we go. So see, wrap text is highlighted, so that is wrapping. So if I ever make it narrow, it will wrap it for me. Sometimes that's useful. Sometimes it can be annoying if you didn't want it to wrap. It will choose how it's wrapping, but usually it gives you a nice wrapping rather than you having to figure out how to force a new line. Here, I want to just enlarge the cells to be able to fit the column. So I'm going to enlarge that. I'm not going to enter the email address right now, so I'm going to shrink that and hide that column. Just by shrinking it all the way down until it hits the next wall, I am effectively hiding that column. Since I'm not going to be entering my gross pay, state, federal and state and tax percent and net pay yet, I'm going to hide those columns while I'm entering the data. So I'm going to click on the border of net pay, drag it all the way to the left till I hit hourly pay rate, and then let go. I'm hiding those columns just temporarily because this is the information I need to enter. I will be entering the rest of it later. So let's start entering this information now. Now, if you don't hide the cells, that just means you have to keep tabbing across them, which is kind of irritating. Employee is Altor, Benny. He has 3 dependents. He has worked 74.5 hours. I don't have to type 74.50 because we're going to be putting in a comma format later on. And his hourly pay rate is 35.25. His hire date is 9/5/10. Watch what happens when I hit enter, and after entering 9/5/10, Excel says, "Oh, that must be a date. That he must mean 9/5/2010. Let's see what happens. Look at that. It interprets that, puts a 2010 in there, even though I didn't type it, because it interprets that as a date and assumes, and it automatically decides to display it as a date. Let's enter the rest of our employees, and then we'll come back and unhide these columns that are hiding right now and let Excel do the work. The next employee is Linda Fox, Fox, Linda. Tabbing over the hidden row or hidden column, she has 1 dependent. Has worked for 80 hours. Ooh, have a lot worked this day. Hourly pay rate for her is 33.1. Hire date 10/17/12. And I hit enter, and it takes me to the next row. Hashtags, don't worry, that just means I need more room. Double click on the edge of that column, and it auto fits so I can see that. Next one is Germaine. Zero dependents. 71.75 as hours worked. He makes the 28.65, and he began 2/2/13. Automatically shows as 2/2/2013. And we got a few more employees to enter to make this interesting. Poor Ben's lowest paid worker in the company. Remember, you do not have to type in 2016. It doesn't care if you do. If you just put the last 2 digits of the year, it will fill in the century for you. Another hard worker, another 80-hour worker. And last one. I'll zoom out so you can see all of them. There's all of my workers and their dependents, hours worked, and their pay rate. I do see a problem here. Somebody entered Olga out of alphabetical order, and we would like these to be in alphabetical order. Now I could cut a row and paste it. Let me show you what I can do. I can reorder these cells by selecting through all of them and going to the data. I'll let you enter the numbers first. I'm going to resort them in a minute by selecting them, and in the data I can say sort these A to Z on, and I think it'll automatically choose column 1, and it'll resort those rows for me to make sure they're alphabetical. Everyone got the data in? Okay, give you a little more time to get the data in. So you could manually re-alphabetize it, but sometimes you have a group of words you'd like to alphabetize. I need to make sure that if I do resort them, that I actually do resort the numbers that went with them. So I need to make sure I select all the data. If I just did this, that would resort the names but not move the hours and dependents that went with that name. If I want to resort all those rows properly, make sure to select all the data, and then I can just choose sort A to Z. And look at that. It resorted it without losing any data. This is something I've used very often in Excel. They don't teach you this part in the textbook, but I find it, especially when I'm entering names and I realize they didn't come in, or I copy pasted them in, they weren't sorted. I can sort the data. If I want to sort by number of dependents, I could do that too. But if I want to keep the rows together, remember, if you want to sort anything, make sure to select all the rows, and then by default it will sort on the first column. If I want to reverse sort, I could just say, oh, sort in the reverse order. Not sure why I'd want to do that, but I can go back to sorting it in the ascending order. So now all goes at the bottom. Don't worry about not having the right number of decimals and everything. We're gonna, when we do formatting, we'll line it up with 2 decimals everywhere, nice and neatly. So we have the data in here. Before we continue now, let's make sure we save this. I'm going to do a Control S and save it as, the name is going to be EX2, or yeah, EX2 Klapor salaries. Oh, and I got to put in front of that the last name of the user. In this case, it's John Smart as the user. And I want to be sure to save it in the right place. So I'm going to go to my remembered location from before, make sure to save it over there. And now I'm going to click Save. So last name, EX2, Klapor salaries, save. And now I'm ready to continue to fill in some data that we're going to let Excel do the work for us. This is all the data we have to enter. The rest is having Excel do the work. If I ever find out that I entered an incorrect number here, I can just correct the number, and all the formulas that I'm going to be putting in will automatically correct. So, since we want to enter some values here in the email now, I need to unhide that column. Yes, sir?
How did you do the alphabetical ordering?
Oh, I select through all the data, and I go to Data, Tab, Sort, A to Z. It will automatically choose the first column. If I want to sort on any other column, I can start the sort, and here I can tell it what column to choose to sort on. But if I have the data selected, this will automatically sort on the leftmost column. So make sure if this data goes with the name, make sure you select all the rows. Otherwise, if I just did this and sorted, it would ignore this and not change the order of those to go with their names. Now I'm going to unhide that email column that is hiding right under there. If I adjust until I see the two lines, I can right click, unhide that column. And now I see the email address. Let's make some room for our email address. And I type in the email for Benny Altor is going to be baltor at Klapore, KLAPORE.com. And I can see the pattern is first initial last name at Klapore.com. Now, I could continue typing that pattern, but you know, Excel recognizes that pattern, and there's this little tool underneath the data tab again, the data tab, a little tool hiding over here underneath data tools. It's got a little lightning bolt next to it. This is called Flash Fill. I'm at the cell right below those emails. Watch what happens when I click Flash Fill. It automatically fills in the other rows with that same pattern. First initial last name, what's on the left side. That's the Flash Fill tool. Save me some typing. It may not get it correct, so you better check that it did get it correct. And it looks like, yeah, first initial last name. It recognized the pattern. So a pretty cool little feature. Now it's up to you to verify that it did give you the right pattern, and if you ever spelled it wrong, it won't recorrect it for you. So it's not a formula, it is something that it guesses what it should put here based on data nearby. Now we want to fill in these other formulas hiding between columns E and K. Here's an easy way to unhide those columns there. I select both the column to the left and right of the column that was just hidden, and now just adjust the width of column K, and all the columns now will fit that same width. So that's an easy way to unhide a column, especially when you have multiples hidden. If I don't do that, if I right click on this, I can unhide one at a time. It's kind of irritating. I have to unhide one at a time, but you could do it that way too. But if I want to hide multiples, I just select through, including the hidden ones, and adjust any column width, and now they'll all have that width. Now it's time to let Excel do the work for us. And remember how I start a formula in Excel? How do I tell Excel to start a formula? What's the key? The equal key. Remember, the equal key means Excel, you're going to do this for me. What is the formula for gross pay? Just to kind of see the numbers here. Not a super complicated formula. Anyone? Yeah, hours times your pay rate. So I could type equals F. Let's see, where's hours work? That's over in, that's in column D. Oh, you know, just to make sure I get it right, let's just point and click to make sure I get that number. Hours worked, yeah, D4 times, that's the asterisk, and I can type E4 or point and click. If I typed E4, notice it will highlight it for me to make sure, to help me realize, yes, that is the correct thing I want to multiply by. Hitting enter will then have it calculate. Now don't worry about fill handling down. We're going to get the formulas all correct for one, and then we'll fill handle down after we get them all. Federal tax, it's a strange formula I'll just give to you.
Hey, Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir?
How did you do the corresponding emails again?
Oh, I just clicked underneath the first two after entering the first two. I'll just delete this for you. So it was like this. I enter the first two, I come here and click data, flash fill. And it recognizes a pattern. If it gives you a message like I didn't see a pattern, check your spelling. If you don't have the pattern matching, the flash fill may fail on you. Let's just do that for fun. Let's do this. I'm going to see if I can get flash fill to complain. Oh, don't click on the link. I'm going to type in, instead of LFox, I'll say FFox at Klapore. Let's see if what flash fill will say if it doesn't see the pattern. See how I messed up on the name? Let's see what flash fill does. Oh, it guessed a pattern, but it kind of messed up. It guessed some of them. No, that's not what I want. So flash fill might mess up on you if you don't have your pattern correct in the first two. Otherwise, it comes out just fine. Okay, gross pay or federal tax now is this strange formula. And I'm going to come to my government, pulling up my government formula pay chart here. The formula for federal tax is strange formula. I type in equal, and it is equal to 26% or 0.26 times, using the asterisk, times the quantity, meaning left parenthesis, the quantity, my gross pay, which is over there in F4, already calculated for me. I can refer to the result of a previous calculation. The gross pay minus $22 per dependent, 22.16 times number of dependents is over there in C4. So 22% of my gross pay minus $22 for each dependent I have. Pretty measly compensation for those dependents that cost me a lot of money. So somebody's making up this formula. We should go to the legislature. I think they're missing a digit. That should be like $220 times every dependent, or maybe $2,200 these days. But that is the formula for the federal tax. Federal always makes it more complicated. Yes?
Was there a formula for gross pay?
Yeah, the gross pay is equal to the hours worked times hourly pay rate. D4 times E4. Now the state tax is a simpler formula. It's simply 5.5% of the gross pay. And let me do that formula. State tax, now I click on here. I type equal. I could type 0.055, or I could type 5.5% times what's over there in F4. That will give me the same number as if I typed 0.055 times gross pay. So 5.5% or 0.055 times F4 gives me the same mathematical result. I like 5.5% because I remember better that way. Yeah, 5%, 5.5% is my state tax. In Texas, I think it's 0. There's some good states that have 0 state tax. Okay, I hit enter and I get the result. And now we have a few more columns. Yes?
I don't know why, but when I did the gross pay thing, it resulted in a date.
Oh, it resulted in a date. Well, just click on that cell and underneath the home tab, change that from date to be general. Tell it to format. Somehow it decided you wanted a date there. And watch what happens. I can tell it, interpret that as a date, and I'll get some crazy thing like that.
That's exactly what I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah, that's crazy. Excel will format the data even though it may not mean to be a date. Because remember, dates are actually numbers. Yes?
What was the formula for state?
State tax. I'm going to hit the control tick mark and show you all my formulas here. That lets you see all your formulas all at one time. So there's my gross pay. Federal tax is that strange formula, 26% F4 minus 22.16 times C4. And state tax is simple, 5.5% of F4. And just for fun here, let me enter the formula for tax percent. Well, tax percent is how much taxes I'm paying added up divided by my gross pay. So let's put that formula here. While I'm letting you see the other formulas, and I'm going to narrow that just so I can see everything here. The tax percent is going to be, well, it's the two taxes added together. So I put that in parentheses. So I type equal parenthesis G4 plus H4. That's the two taxes added together. And then I divide by, well, what was my total pay? So the fraction of all the taxes divided by my gross pay, which is back there in F4. That is a fraction, and we'll display it as a percentage. But it's just calculating the fraction of total taxes paid divided by my gross pay. And I get a formula. If I want to see the result of the formula, control tick, and I see the actual number. It's around 31% for someone that has 3 dependents. There's the formula. There's the result. Control tick mark. Now, can you guess what net pay should be? This is close to the marriage saving formula concept. This is called your budget saving formula. How do I calculate the check that I'm going to be taking home with me? Because they're going to take the taxes out and pay them so the government doesn't come shut them down. What is my net pay? Can you guess what this formula should be? Just a little math practice. Yeah, gross pay minus the taxes added together. So equals gross pay, where's that? That's over in F4. F4 minus the state tax, which is H4, and also minus the federal tax, which is in G4. The order doesn't matter. I subtract both taxes from my gross pay to calculate my net pay. Now, if you like to put in parentheses, then in parentheses be the 2 taxes added together. But I just say gross pay minus both taxes gives me my net pay. I hit enter. To actually see the numbers it calculates, control tick mark, and I should have 1816 rounded off to 5 digits. We'll do a counting format later. Y'all good with those formulas? That's all the work we have to do for now. We're going to let Excel do the work now. Gross pay has been calculated for one employee. I drag through all the calculations for that one employee and fill handle down. It will move the reference as I move down, and now it's calculated the pay for all of them. If I enlarge this cell, I do see the additional decimal points. And don't worry about the crazy decimal points. We'll be putting in accounting format or comma format later on when we do the formatting part of this. So all I did was the work on these cells, was careful to make sure I got it right. Then all the rest of these, I let Excel do the work by just do the fill handle. Now we're not quite done yet because the statistician comes along and said, you know what, I like those numbers. It looks like you have it calculated, but I would like to see some statistics. I would like to see, first of all, I'm going to put an empty row underneath the names. I'd like to see the total of the appropriate cells. I would like to see the highest, the lowest, and the average. Well, let's save this, and now let's see, how would we calculate a total? Let's see, does total dependence make sense? No, total dependence doesn't make sense, but total hours worked, that sounds like something useful. Let's click on that. And how do we calculate total hours worked? Well, it would be the sum of all these numbers, but is there an easy way? Let's see here. Let's go to the Home tab. Oh, looky here. There's a sigma function. Let's click on him. Oh, look at that. Sigma automatically knows, oh, there's a sum. I don't have to remember to type equal sum, although I could. But it is calculating a blank cell. Let's just tell it, give me the total of those cells. And then I hit enter. Remember to hit enter before clicking anywhere else or you mess up your formula. Click somewhere else. Look at that. The sum is messed up. That's what I want to sum up. Hit enter. And now I have the total hours worked. Let's do that one more time and then we'll let the fill handle help us. Hourly pay rate. Does it make sense to total up hourly pay rate? No. Sums of rates isn't any meaningful mathematically. So we'll skip that row. Let's make that the sum. And again, drag through just the cells we want to get a sum of. And now that I know how that works, let's just fill handle over all the way out to net pay. Fill handle, solid cross, fill handle out to net pay. And then I realized, well, tax percent, adding up percentages doesn't make sense. Let's delete that one. I don't need that one. Now, we've got our total let's calculate the highest. That might be something useful. That, what family or what is the highest number of dependents any employee has? Click here. How would I get the highest? Well, I could search through the formulas and look for statistics, or I could come up here to my sigma friend and that little arrow guy. Yes.
How did you do the fill from gross pay over net pay?
This one here, the total gross pay.
Yeah.
Just move down to the fill handle till you see the solid cross,
Yeah.
and grab and drag across,
And then enter.
and then just let go. And then I don't need it on tax, so I can click on that and delete it.
What would you do to fill like all of the information in a separate?
This part here,
Yeah.
yeah. I had it right for one employee. I select through it with a large cursor and then fill handle down. And it gets all the information filled in. Now, we would like to calculate a statistic, the highest and lowest of dependents. That's hiding up under here. The sigma also has an average. Count numbers, that's sometimes useful, but a max and a min. Highest, guess what? That's the max. I click max, and it guesses what I wanted to calculate the max of. Again, I tell it, or drag through the cells I wanted to calculate the max of. I hit enter, and then I can click and fill handle that across. I'm going to go all the way out to hire date just for fun. Even though it gives me a number here, we'll come back and fix that so it displays as a date. So I calculate just for one, and then I fill handle across. The lowest, guess what? That's the min. Click here. Click arrow or sigma guy, arrow, min. Of course, it stops there because it had some empty cells. I have to tell, oh, these are the cells I want the min of by clicking and dragging through them. Hitting enter when I'm done. Now coming back, click and drag the fill handle over. There we go, fill handle. And the min would be, as a date, that would be like the worker that was hired first. And the average, same thing, come up to the cell I want to put the average in. Arrow down from the sigma, there's the average function. It's built in, even though I could have typed in equal average, it does that for me. Again, tell it these are the cells I want to calculate the average of. Before clicking anywhere else, hit enter, and fill handle that one across. Make sure you get the solid crosshairs. It's easy to forget or drag and move that. Now for these cells here, just for fun, they don't do this in the text box, but remember, dates in Excel are simply numbers. And numbers I can treat as dates by selecting the cells and coming up here and say, format that as a date. It'll say, okay, I'll treat that number as a date, and let's see, 429, is that the oldest worker? Yes, that's Steve Tellman's date. The highest, that's the newest worker, that is Olga, she's our newest worker. And the average hire date around 2012. Sometimes, perhaps I might be useful saying, there's the average length of time workers have worked here. So average of dates sometimes could be useful. I double click just to see the formula. Yes, that is giving me the max of those dates. Remember, the max of a date means the youngest. Dates are smaller number in the past. And just, let's see, what would 0 be? If I type in 0 and treat that as a date, what date do you think will show up? Let's see. Treat 0 as a date, what do I get? January 0, 1900. If I put a 1 in there and treat that as a date, that's January 1st, 1900. So numbers, or dates are numbers, and you can have it treat a number as a date. And that's what, Chris, you were seeing when I was over here. If I treat that as a date, I'll get some crazy date, right? No, that's not to be treated as a date. I can undo formatting it as a date. So this formatting part This is a very powerful thing, and we'll be using that more. So any questions about that? Remember, I can do Control Tick, and I can see all my formulas just to verify that I have my formulas right. That looks like a lot of work, but remember, all you did was a lot of fill handling after calculating it for one particular person. When I grade your work, remember, I'm not looking at the numbers except to verify that it looks like you entered stuff right. The main thing is you did enter formulas and just didn't read numbers off the screen and enter them cells. And just to show you one thing here, in the tax percentage, if I don't remember that 5.5% is, not tax percent, state tax, if I don't remember that 5.5% is 0.055, and I just know someone told me 0.055, I could enter 0.055 and I would still get the same number. 5.5% is equivalent to 0.055. You can type it as a percentage in a formula or as mathematical 0.055. Depends on how pure a mathematician you are, or using a calculator. Calculators won't do that. Calculators, you can't type 5.5%, at least the calculators that I have. But Excel will let you do that. Now we've done a lot of work with formulas, so let's save this. And now we'll just get started on the formatting of things now. Verifying my numbers. We know right away that these numbers ought to be in better format. So let's go ahead and just put everything at least in comma format. But we only do that for numbers that have to do with dollars. But we can always put them all in comma format and then come and fix things. So let's just select from here all the way down to here, not the dates, we don't want them as comma format, and just select the comma, and it looks a little better right away. Everything has 2 decimals, and if you see hashtags, just double click on the column border and I see that auto fits for me. We'll come back and put things in accounting format, but let's get our title centered. Let's first of all merge and center all the way across to row K, and then we'll put it in cell style of title. The sequence that you do it, you can merge and center and then put in title, or put in title format and merge and center. Let's first merge and center that one, and let's merge and center this one. Okay, now suppose I thought, couldn't I just merge and center them all at once? This will not work, because what happens is it will only take one cell that will merge. It won't say, oh, I'll merge both cells. It will actually merge them both row and column and just leave one left. So you don't want to do the merge and center that way. You have to merge and center them separately so you don't wipe out. Oh, I didn't mean to wrap that. Let's go back to merge and center that. There we go. And merge and center that. Now I can apply a style to both by clicking and selecting. And let's try cell style of, how about title? And we'll make this guy larger font. So they're both in title style. We'll make this font a little larger because that's the main title. And now let's go back and select them both. And let's make them bold. And let's see here. I like the color scheme, but is there a better way to choose a color scheme for my entire spreadsheet? Let's try page layout. I can apply a theme. Yes?
I'm having a hard time merging and centering the title. I know where the button is, but I don't know how to
All right, let me come help you. Choose a theme. Choose the gallery theme for your spreadsheet. Okay, so you have to have cell selected first. Drag all the way, click and drag all the way through. Nope, that's the fill handle. Nope, that's the move handle. That's the one to select. The fat one is the selecting one. Now merge and center. There we go. Yep. Yeah, it's easy to confuse the move versus the fill handle versus the selector. They're merged and centered, and then what we did then select through the both and apply a cell style of title, and then make it bold, Control B, and then in our page layout, let's choose a color theme of gallery. Or it's more than a color theme. It's a theme. Remember, themes mean a selection of colors, fonts. No, and I don't know about, there may be some effects in there, but a theme has a combination of all that. The gallery theme, notice the font does change when I choose the gallery theme. The other themes have different fonts to go with them. But let's choose gallery. And we'll begin later on putting this in a particular heading style. Or actually, I think we just put a border on him. Oh no, we put a border around this. Let's put a border around our title and then we'll be done. I want a border around that lovely title by going to homepage, and let's put a border around those cells. Nice thick outside border. And I can even adjust my border color. We'll stop there though. We put a border around our title. I zoom out a little bit. Here's what I see. If I go to print view, I see that, oh, it's going to be ugly portrait version, but we'll view it in Excel for now. Next time we'll come back and pretty this whole thing up, and it'll be easy work the next time. We might even get started on the next one. Get ahead of ourselves. All right, save that, and see you next time. We'll be formatting the rest of this in lovely accounting and beautiful colors. I'm uploading this recording for anyone that was off today. They had was it Madison they went to?